Okay, we're about to watch James Bond, A View to a Kill.
It's gonna be bad. Apparently, it's the worst in the Bond series. It is Roger Moore's last entry into the Bond series.
I know nothing about James Bond and I've never seen a James Bond movie. Is this the same thing as 007?
Yeah.
Like Sean Connery?
Yes.
I haven't seen it, but that's the only
Sean Connery
reference
is
that
the
I know.
original one. Pierce Brosnan was the one during the 90s.
Okay.
Now it's Daniel Craig.
So this one was from 1985.
It's supposed to be like weird as fuck. It's supposed to be really weird as fuck. It's got Christopher Walken as the villain, and Grace Jones is in the movie. She's like an Amazonian black woman that was in the Conan the Barbarian movies with Arnold Schwarzenegger. She was like an Amazon woman that like killed men with a spear and shit.
Yikes.
There's supposed to be some really fucking crazy shit in this movie, and I can't wait to watch it.
Very awesome. Let's get started.
Let's do it. Hey!
Okay. So we just watched A View to a Kill.
It was terrible.
It's a 1985 James Bond movie, the last film of
Roger Moore's
Roger Moore, his swan song.
His tenure as James Bond.
And he was definitely too old for the part. I don't even know what else to say.
He was raw dogging like these 25-year-old girls. He was 60 in this movie.
And just so gross.
He was a senior citizen.
Yeah, I can say as like someone my age, like there is such thing as an older attractive gentleman, but he's just too old for that.
Yeah, he's like his sex days are almost over at this point. Like he would need assistance from a pill in order to get it done.
He has like a backpack full of Viagra.
It would hurt
this entire.
He would throw his back out. Like honestly, is what would happen.
Oh my gosh.
No, in his backpack he actually has caviar and an entire bottle of Stoli.
So that was bizarre. And then after that was like some crazy credits.
Duran Duran song.
Yeah, and a Duran Duran song. I've never seen any James Bond before, but those credits were insane. It was like a rave, like everybody was on ecstasy or something.
That's how they all are. They're like real 60s and like psychedelic like that.
So this movie really starts out in Paris, and it has to do a lot with horse racing and like horse genetics and stuff.
There's like horse steroids that's going on. He's like, yeah, it's really weird. It doesn't have anything to do with the main plot of the movie, which involves flooding Silicon Valley so that they can have a monopoly on all the silicon chips in the world.
But what is also crazy is when there was that lunch or whatever inside of the
there's a restaurant in the Eiffel Tower.
And
There's a butterfly dance.
A butterfly dance. So this woman gets up on stage and she's like, not really part of the act. I don't really understand it, but she's
just like gesticulating wildly.
And like
there's a bunch of fake butterflies around her that are flapping.
Yeah, and then fake butterflies are everywhere. And so I don't really know what her role is because these butterflies are doing their own thing, and she's just like pretending that she's like moving.
She's like doing like interpretive dance, but it's terrible.
It is terrible.
And there's people with like fishing rods on the side, like flipping butterflies around. And then Grace Jones comes in.
Yeah.
Mayday, as her character is called. She karate chops one of the fishing pole attendants in the neck.
She's just like, ugh.
And then, yeah.
She like hooks this guy that James Bond is having lunch with.
She just flicks it, like expertly fly fishes it onto his cheek.
And he's just immediately dead.
Immediately just slumps over and is dead like that.
And so obviously James Bond has to go catch this woman.
So she base jumped.
Yeah, so she like base jumped off the Eiffel Tower, and James Bond jumped on top of the elevator to take him down. And so
it would
this
kill
woman,
his 60-year-old knees.
It would kill his knees. But anyways, this woman has on a parachute. And so he runs, when he gets to the ground, he like runs to like the first car he sees, which is like a taxi, and he tells that dude, the driver, he's like, get out, I'm taking your car.
First he says, follow that parachute, and the guy's like, oh, I'm eating my lunch. He's got like a giant glass of red wine. He's a cab driver, by the way, drinking an enormous glass of red wine for lunch. But
setting high standards.
Then James Bond just kicks his ass out of his car and steals it, I guess.
And the best part is that James Bond is following this woman parachuting out of the sky. He is taking into account nothing that's going on around him. He is driving down marble staircases,
Yeah, he's causing a lot of accidents.
running people over. And as this is happening, he gets the roof of the car cut off, the back of the car, the back seat, the windshield. So all he is left with for like half of this sequence is just like the engine and like the front seat.
Right. And the back is just like scraping all on the ground.
Yeah,
horribly.
just scraping on the ground, probably making like the worst noise ever, making people's ears bleed.
So many sparks.
And so anyway, then he finally catches up with her, and she lands on a boat, and so he like jumps in this boat, but he like jumps on top of it, and he like breaks through the ceiling and falls into a wedding cake.
She gets picked up by Christopher Walken with blonde hair.
Christopher Walken is very unsettling with blonde hair. He looks like a Swedish, like, just creepy guy.
He's very gaunt, too.
Yeah, because I think they also dyed his eyebrows blonde.
I think they did, yeah.
Which is not a good move.
No, he looks pale and waxen.
So it starts out this horse barn thing that is, like, at Versailles, pretty much. It's, like, the
fanciest
place
It's
ever.
like Louis the Sun King created these stables.
So then we find out that Christopher Walken is the bad guy. He's the mastermind, trying to get people to pay into his monopoly that he's trying to make of silicon and computer chips and stuff. They find there's like this big lab underneath of the stables where they're manufacturing the horse, like whatever it is.
They're injecting it with like steroids or something.
Yeah,
there's like a whole there's like a horse hospital underneath of this.
Yeah, but it's crazy because James Bond doesn't know anything about horses, and he like immediately is like picking out the right chemicals and stuff, and he's like, when you add this and this together, you get this magical crazy thing. So then
it's not even close to the craziest thing about this movie. There's so much shit.
No, and so
many blimps.
Then they're in a blimp, and it's like Christopher Walken and one of his assistants and all these mega rich people. And he's like telling them that he needs each of them to invest $100 million into like his company, so because he's gonna make a monopoly of silicon, because microchips are a huge deal and gonna make all of them billions of dollars.
Right.
And so suddenly there's this blimp ride, and one dude is like, "No, I'm not giving you $100 million because that is insane to ask of me. That's insane."
He's like, "Oh, okay. Will you go wait outside?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'll wait outside if you want me to do that. That's cool." And then she just kicks his ass down the flight of stairs, and he falls out of the fucking blimp
into the San Francisco Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this whole thing is suddenly, like, is in San Francisco. The plot of the movie has just totally changed locations. They never address it. All of a sudden, they're just in California. And that's when Stacy comes into play. I'm not even sure anything about her, really, except for that she's just in this big, fancy house by herself, and James Bond just creeps up one time. And he happens to arrive at the same time, like, her house, people are, like, breaking into it.
Right, there's associates of Christopher Walken's are coming to make her sign the contract. Anyways, he uses a shotgun filled with rock salt, and he shoots like 7 times without reloading.
Crazy thing is that there's no furniture in this house except for like a bed. Like the bedroom is the only place that's furnished.
There's not a single other piece of furniture.
I know, and so there's
bare wood floors.
Yeah, there's this brawl going on in the living room of this like super fancy house. And they almost knock into this vase, which is actually an urn. And she's like, "The vase! Oh my god!" And so she like runs.
There's like people trying to take his life. She's like, "Don't mess up the vase."
I know. So she runs to get this urn, and then she like immediately just like leaves behind her worries about breaking it, and just
she's like, "Oh well," and then boom, kills the dude with it.
She just cracks it over an assailant's head, and is like, "Oh, those were my dad's ashes, but he always loved a good fight."
Right, yeah. At the end of the day. Really, we're going way too in-depth with this movie. They find out that Christopher Walken has a bunch of explosives underneath in this, like, water reservoir underneath the San Andreas Fault that he's going to set off with a nuclear explosion and flood the fault with water,
causing a double earthquake.
Causing a double earthquake.
Because Stacy might be a seismologist.
That's going to take out Silicon Valley. Yeah, Stacy is something. She's basically just a sex object, but she also
because at first she was
acts like she knows about this stuff during one scene.
She has like I don't even know what you call something. Is it like a seismograph or something?
Oh yeah, she has a little computer.
She has a seismograph like in her bedroom, and is like, "Oh look, there was just some like earthquake activity."
Oh, and it's coming from the San Andreas Fault. And like 15 seconds later, nope, that didn't exist in 1985.
Yeah.
Nobody has seismographs in their room to begin with.
They actually go and check out these.
The mines. Yeah, there's a whole scene in the mines. They're in the mines for like a half an hour.
And there's a ton of people working on this project.
A crew of laborers. going day and night, it seemed like.
Yeah, and so they're like mining all of this stuff, and James Bond and Stacy kind of tag along to see what's up. They really didn't gain any information except
No, they
for
didn't.
that they were putting a giant bomb at the bottom of it.
Yeah.
The mine starts to flood on purpose, like Christopher Walken was planning on that happening. So it starts flooding, and so people are drowning and washing away, and he's just standing up on top with it.
Oh, that's right. He's like giving an Uzi, and he's just like for 5 minutes straight, just emptying clips into all the workers.
But I'm like, these people are gonna die anyway. They're definitely gonna drown.
There was no reason for him to shoot them up with an Uzi before he killed them.
Christopher Walken gets away in a blimp, which is crazy that he would even take the risk of staying inside of the mine if he knew it was going to flood. Because
Right.
him and like his assistant are the only people who don't die in this flood.
There are literally 2 people out of like maybe 150
Yeah.
that survive. Yeah.
So anyway, they like get on the blimp and they go up in the air because they're waiting for this double earthquake to happen because of the flood that
Double
they've
earthquake.
caused. I know.
What does it mean?
Nobody knows. But anyway, so like it doesn't happen. Like,
Grace Jones like fucking like uses a pulley and sets him down in the hole and takes him back up with the nuclear detonator,
yeah.
and they put it onto a minecart and whisk it away.
So did it explode ever?
Yeah, it did, didn't it? Wait, she was holding on to it. That's right. She sacrificed her life by releasing the handbrake so that the cart would go farther and it wouldn't blow up the huge stash of dynamite that they had.
Oh my gosh, I think we need to also real quick address the fact that that James Bond, when they were in Paris, he was going by Saint John.
Saint John Smythe. But he referred to himself as St. John Smythe. I know that like British people are like St. John's or something like that, but not St. John. They don't say St. John.
Like Singin.
Everyone called him St. John. They said it.
St. John Smythe.
St. John Smythe. Yeah, they said it like 50 times over the course of like a half an hour.
Like you would never say anybody's name that much ever.
Bring me St. John Smythe.
People don't say other people's names that often.
Mr. St. John Smythe.
Everyone, all the time, St. John Smythe. But he decides that he's gonna try to kill Stacy and James Bond.
Right.
So he like throws them in the elevator shaft and
Yeah.
throws them like a Molotov
Oh,
cocktail
yeah.
to like try
yeah.
to blow up the whole building and them. But of course they escape, and James Bond is like heroically carrying her down
Right.
like fire ladder.
Oh, the fire ladder. Yeah, that's right.
That was like 90 feet in the air.
I know, it's so insane. Like no fit 20-year-old man would be able to do it, much less a 60-year-old guy.
I know.
Who just drinks and smokes all the time. They end up tossing Christopher Walken's ass out of the fucking blimp over top of the like higher than the Golden Gate Bridge. He dies. Then James Bond at the end gets the girl and is just like banging her like
in a shower.
Yeah, just raw dogging her in a shower at the end of the movie. The end credits.
But it was bad.
It was a really bad movie. It was not enjoyable either because it was so fucking long. They could have cut the entire horse racing sequence and not have missed a single thing. It was there for so long. Like it was so heavily invested in this horse racing shit.
And it was
didn't pay off at all.
Yeah, like, oh, let's go over the steeplechase or whatever because I'm going to show you how
I
much
need you
better
to
my
ride
horse is.
Inferno.
They kept altering the course, so like everybody behind him really got screwed over.
Yeah, like
they
the obstacles would raise up, or they would go like closer towards him, or whatever. I think they were like trying to kill him, right? They were
I
like,
don't know, because there would be like grass this high they had to jump over. Then all of a sudden, like Christopher Walken would go over it, and then it would suddenly grow like 3 feet. But it was super obvious because there were people on the side of each of the obstacles, like changing it.
So
like
who
after
created
he
these
went through.
obstacles? Like who made the mechanism that makes these obstacles go?
I also had a problem with all the spy technology. Everything was done like super obviously.
Like that dog, that robot dog.
A robot dog.
Supposed to be surveillance.
And they were like, "Oh, this is so sneaky. It's so obvious. Like, if you did not purchase that, you would immediately notice that it was like in your house."
Like, what the fuck is this huge metal thing in my house that's making all this noise?
Pretty
and
much.
Beep boops. Like it's so beep boopy. Would you recommend somebody else watching this movie? No, don't waste your time.
And it's just kind of predictable too. Which I was talking about something that I hate because when they were moving this giant bomb or something, it should have been suspenseful.
Right.
But you're like, this is James Bond. Like we know it's gonna work out. But if I could go back in time, I would not watch this movie.
Watch Octopussy instead. It's a real James Bond movie, by the way.
Oh,
it's called Octopussy. I'm not kidding.
I would feel like dirty saying that. What movie are you gonna go see?
Octopussy. to your grandmother.
So that's all we have to say about that.
Kalaki.